Welcome back, basketball fans. Welcome back, man. KBF has been hot, and before you even get to the content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell because it helps me out a ton. And man, without further ado, let me just get into it. So, in the women's division, the Zetech Sparks swept the Equity Hawks to make the finals. They just won 3 straight games on them. So the Sparks will face off the KPA Dockers team in a best-of-5 series to determine the champion. Zetech are therefore, they have made their finals berth in there. KPA look to defend their title and their unbeaten run. As one thing that is actually pretty interesting is both teams are unbeaten right now. We'll just see who's going to lose their O. But the Sparks, man, the Sparks blew out the Hawks 70-40 convincingly to make the finals. A lot of things were being talked about prior to this series, and you could see like the general consensus was maybe the Equity Hawks were going to make the finals. They're just going to, get their revenge on KPA. But the women's division, the championship runs through 3 teams. So it's the KPA Dockers, the Zetech Sparks, and the Equity Hawks. Right now, Equity are out in the running, and right now it's Zetech and KPA. So the championship runs through them because you could see between those 3 teams, a champion is going to be determined. And man, they're gonna clash in the finals. But Coach Maurice Obilo told Mozart Sports after the victory that we are confident of beating Equity, but going through was unprecedented. So we thank God for this. This means a lot to us and to the players. We have made it to our first ever finals, and it's a commendable performance. We shift our focus to the final where we play the champions, but my players are ready for anyone. We will definitely compete in the finals. So it's quoted saying that, and man, this closeout game was just straight brutal, especially for the Equity Hawks, because in the first quarter the Sparks dominated, winning the first 2 quarters 18-13, 12-2 for a 13-point lead heading into the break. So the first half was Chantal Kiobe just taking over. She scored 13 points out of the 18 points from the Sparks side, 9 from beyond the arc. So she was just lighting them up from deep, as she showed, because she has been one of their go-to scorers, especially from downtown. So the Hawks struggled to stop their shots, and even worse, to convert on their own basket, especially when they had all that experience in their side. So shooting guard Maureen Bosibori started off hot, hitting a 3 to start in the second quarter. So Kyobe was in the scoring sheet again with back-to-back baskets from the paint, forcing the Hawks to call a timeout, trailing by 12 points as the score was 25-13. So you could see the Sparks are just putting the hammer down. Rachel Akinyi and Aros Mandela's 3-pointers in the second quarter did little for the Hawks. Azmadina Okot, who's the biggest acquisition they made mid-season, who until at that point had adopted the rebounding role, and she was just cleaning up the boards, and she made sure that no basket, she made sure that every single shot that missed, she got it, she pulled it down, kicked it out. So it was just overall good game for the Zetech Sparks. Nothing much changed in the second half, despite the Hawks going ahead 11-8 in the third quarter. The Sparks dominated the whole game, and the final score just ended up being a blowout, and it was just a blowout by 30 points. This was actually very huge, and they notched the finals. So that's just a rundown on what really happened in that Zetech Sparks versus the Equity game. And honestly, if you ask me, teams that are built to contend in the playoffs should have such a convincing performance, especially when they're going to the finals. And it was actually something that shouldn't be seen as a surprise, because there's this game that the Zetech Sparks and Equity Hawks had last year in the regular season, where they started off like that, and there was no answer for anyone. There was no answer for anyone in the Hawks, not even the Hawks, the Zetech Sparks side, because they were just showing up from deep. They're giving you everything. They just served it any way you liked. If you liked it from the 3-ball from downtown, they got you. If you liked it in the paint, they gave it to you. If you liked it in transition and the steal, they got it. And one thing that I saw on that game was Equity just looked so frazzled in there. All the way from game one, you could see the confidence was shot. They were being picked from full court every single time. They were being trapped. A turnover, a basket, a turnover, a basket. So I mean, the whole story even flowed from game one to game three, and you could just see like they just didn't want to be there. It's like they didn't want to compete. It's like they quit. I can say, honestly, if you ask me, I can say this was just like a quit series for the Equity Hawks, and they just did nothing to stop anything, and they couldn't hit anything on their side, and they're just getting trapped everywhere. But in Mombasa, I mean, the Kenya Ports Authority are through to the finals. I mean, yet again, after sweeping the Strathmore Swords. I mean, I actually predicted this earlier. This scoreline, the game scoreline was 69-47, and they seal the unbeaten streak continues for the KPA Dockers, and this was just expected because the way the Dockers dominated game one and game two in Nairobi, it was just in convincing fashion, and there was no way they're going to lose game three at home. So Belinda Okot and Vilma Chieng scored 14 points each, with the Swords Joem Mpalia and Sharon Ojagi scoring 12 points each in the season-ending loss. So I mean, it was just rinse and repeat for the Dockers team as they quickly dispatched the Swords, as the Swords just posed little to no threat on KPA. So it was just a smooth sailing to the finals as we wait for KPA to match up against the Zetech Sparks. So it's just going to be an interesting series. Hopefully that series plays out 5 games, because man, I mean, when you look at the way both teams were just dominant in the postseason, man, this finals can even go all the way. But the Equity Dumas beat the Ulinzi Warriors in 4 games, despite the Ulinzi Warriors winning game 3. The writing was on the wall that the Equity Dumas were going to be to win that series and were the better team, of course. So Coach Kari Odhiambo now has the Equity Dumas in the KBF finals and will rematch the KPA Dockers, a team that made them blow a 2-0 lead last year in the semis before they went on to win the KBF championship. So the Equity Dumas are matching up against KPA. Remember, this was a very controversial series, as the Equity Dumas, they won both games at home in Nairobi, but when they went to Makande, they weren't able to win any single game, and they blew a 2-0 lead. They only needed to win one game to sweep KPA, but KPA were not having that, and they were able to win 3 straight. So I mean, we'll just get into that. But the Dumas beat the Ulinzi Warriors 3-1 in the best of 5 semi-series, winning that game 4 90-63 in a show of absolute dominance to book a ticket to the finals for that KPA rematch. I mean, this was actually a rematch that I saw coming. I somewhat saw it coming because they were just on a collision course. I mean, the Equity Dumas have been through it. Twice eliminated in the quarters and made the semis last season, and they lost 3-2 to KPA after blowing a 2-0 lead. So I mean, this is if them blowing a lead to Lindsay would have been would just be just like a hammer down their throat. Like, they just couldn't let that series to go to a game 5, so they had to dispatch the Lindsay Warriors. So the Dumas gave what is arguably their best performance of the season when it mattered to beat the Ulinzi Warriors and avoid a game 5, especially in game 4 they had to come out very strong. So Lenson Kisia, who has been the Dumas secret weapon all season, led the onslaught with 18 points, and Fahim Juma scoring 19. James Mwangi and Victor Ocheng added 14 and 11 respectively. So we had to have those players on the Equity Dumas having that type of production so that they can be able to like dispatch the Ulinzi Warriors. So Coach Odhiambo was quoted saying, "After faltering in game 3, something had to give, and I'm happy everyone stepped up for this match. It was a cagey affair in the first quarter, but we took control of the flow and went ahead in the second quarter, scoring 31 to change the trajectory of the match. This was what I expected from the players, and As we head to the final, I remain optimistic that everyone will have the same fire and hunger for a championship. His sentiments were echoed by Coach David Miner. Miner has been in charge of the Equity Hawks, the women's side, since 2013, guiding them to 3 titles, but was roped in the men's team in 2020 after the team failed to go past the last 8 in the 2 seasons. So Coach Miner also was quoted as saying the team has been on an upward trajectory and this is a big achievement. So there was teamwork all around on Sunday's game, and the hunger to be in the first ever finals was evident. We are not settling for being in the finals. We're going to win. We are going for the title. We'll go back to our starts of the regular season and work on a few things. Top of the list is getting our defense right. I believe we can match KPA offensively. We also have to insist on playing as a unit, as that made all the difference in the semis. We have what it takes to win the title, and everyone has the hunger to achieve that feat in our first time of asking. So the best of 5 final series will get underway March 27, and the first 2 games will be held in Nairobi, while the rest of the 3 games will be held in Mombasa. But after game 3, Coach Kari Odhiambo had this to say, especially after Ulinzi Warriors won that game. Our attitude in this game was not good. This is actually after game 3. Our attitude in this game was not good. We knew the Warriors were going to come out hard, which played out exactly as we had imagined, but we did not play well. We committed a lot of mental mistakes, not scoring the basketball we ought to easily do, and not defending as well as we should have. This was just complacency, not a bad day at the office. So we had to finish this series on Sunday. So this is game 4. We have no choice. Giving the Warriors the chance to fight in game 5 will be costly, as anything can happen in that situation. We have to remain focused and fight to the last whistle for a win. So Coach Kari T9 Odhiambo faulted the complacency of the match outcome, saying that the casual manner in which the squad approached the game 3 match resulted in their loss and put them under pressure in game 4. So this was before game 4. In game 3, Colin Sui scored 14 with Eric Motoro, who scored 13, William Ocheng 11, Stefan Simiyu 10, 12. The Orleans Warriors overcome that deficit and go ahead to win. So despite the Dumas leading 12 points at some point, Mufutu's men kept working and they made sure to win that game. But you could see the mentality heading into game 4 was to win it all and close it out, and close it out they did. But James Mwangi led scoring in that game with 16 and Fahim Juma 11. That production was not great, but they're able to overcompensate that production in game 4, which they did, as both these players scored double digits, and their production was expected and it was needed and it was necessary, especially to prevent any situation of this game going into a game 5 to decide who's gonna make it to the finals. So Equity versus KPA is a legit rivalry. Both teams are elite and look to winning it all. So the Dumas blew a 2-0 lead to KPA last season, and it somewhat changed how they went about winning games. They had to make some major moves in the off season, and it's a championship or bust season for them. I don't care what people might say, but it's a championship or bust season for them. So on the other side, KPA look to repeat, and for legacy, they have to beat the Dumas in the best of 5 series again. The other time, they were able to come back down from an 0-2 deficit, and they won 3 straight games in Makande Gymnasium. So KPA coming off beating the Nairobi City Thunder in 4 games, a series that looked to go the distance, but the Thunder couldn't win a game in Mombasa. Actually, they had a capitulation in game 3, and game 4, the writing was on the wall. They're not going to win that. So, in Nairobi, everything was going on well for the Thunder. They were able to tie up the series 1-1, but the tables turned, especially when they went to Mombasa. Everything that had to go wrong for the Thunder just did go wrong. And currently, KP have the best winning percentage at home. When they play at the Makande Gymnasium, they are able to win majority of the games. So the big question is, Will the Dumas win at the Makande gym as they failed last postseason to close out the series outside Nairobi, considering the fact that last season the Equity Dumas were very dominant, especially when they played in Nairobi. They were leading 2-0, but when they went to the Makande Gymnasium, they lost 3 straight in a controversial way. You could say there was a lot of fan interference. A lot of reports were saying the refs didn't ref the game well. There was a lot of controversy going on there, and there was even a point where like the series had to be replayed, but KPA appealed it. It was such a messy situation. But will the league make sure that those things don't happen? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So things are tricky as game 1 and game 2 are going to be in Nairobi, 3, 4, and 5 in the Makande gym. I mean, will the Dumas overcome the noise they experienced the last postseason and win with their revamped roster? Because majority of the players that played for the Dumas last season, you could see they're not the same faces this season, because not this postseason, last off season, you could see the Equity Dumas, they made sure to make some key acquisitions, some key signings, so that they can get over and win that championship. So they did. So will this group of guys be able to overcome that noise at the Makande Gymnasium? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But the big question, or even on the KPA side, will they use the same strategy on Equity from last season to this season? I mean, all these questions are going to be answered in this final series. I expect fireworks. I expect this series to play out all 5 games. Hopefully Equity can overcome their Makande woes that they suffered from suffered at the hands of KPA last postseason. I know there was a lot of controversy. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding that controversy going into that season. I even covered it on this channel at that time, and I didn't agree with what the league did. I didn't agree with their approach. But let's just have to wait. We just have to wait and see what measures the league has to make sure that we don't have any fan interference in there, to make sure that everything is playing on pretty well, to make sure that even the officiating is not subpar, but is up to the standard, up to the FIBA standards, and to make sure that everything just runs on smoothly, without any controversy, without any party taking each other's to court, without the threat of the league, losing its integrity because of all these scandals, because this is the biggest stage in the finals where every game stops, and this is the game that majority of people want to watch. So yeah, man, this is what I got for you guys, man. I'm just waiting to see how this finals is gonna kick off. They're gonna kick off this coming weekend, May 27th, excuse me. It's May 27th, this coming weekend, and can't wait. Also, alongside that, we have the BAL, the finals also will be kicking off, and yeah, even in the NBA, a lot of things are happening this month and also next month. So stay tuned to that, and please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, because it will help me out a ton. And I'm out. Peace.